This is just my first talk, so I'm a little nervous, but thank you. So today I'll be sharing a bit about UI UX design for games and why I use Figma in my process and why you should too. So I already know that I heard that some of you already use Figma, so I hope you'll still learn from me. So everything you'll hear from me is what I've learned on the job, so it may be different for other people. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I'm Juelle Quilantang. I'm also known as Jules in the community. So I'm a UI UX designer, but my skill set also includes technical UI art, illustration, and animation. So I just started a month ago as a senior UX designer at Altitude Games, but I was previously working as a UI UX designer at Captain TV, a US-based game company where we made games for streamers. Oops, sorry. So I have more than 8 years of work experience designing and creating art for digital products, including interactive exhibits, tabletop, PC, mobile, web games, and software applications. So I can't share much about Altitude Games yet, but I'll be sharing more about my previous work. So does anyone here watch any streams, live streams on Twitch? Well, some of the projects I worked on at Captain TV were games for streamers, and we had Arena Kingdoms, Nitro Stream Racing, and Stream Raiders, Captain Hub. So all of our projects were designed specifically for streamers. So Stream Raiders is a game where streamers will host battles every 30 minutes, and their viewers can join by dropping their units in the battlefield. I created the game logo and worked on the UI and the loading screen for seasonal events. Oops. And then we have Nitro Stream Racing. It's a game where streamers can host races and their viewers can join via chat or from our viewer app to customize their cars and skins. When we launched, we partnered with big streamers. So if you know Ludwig or Northern Lion and Quarter Jade, they promoted our game, and even during Streamer Awards, they had the Mario go-kart with our game logo. Next, we have Arena Kingdoms, which is a turn-based auto-battler card game where players can go against each other to compete and represent their Discord server in arena tournaments. So I really enjoyed working on this project because we tried a different art style from the minimalist style we used to do before. So what's great about creating games for streamers is we are able to see hours of recordings from our players, sharing their user experience instantly for free. So now that you have some idea of what I've been doing in the past, I just want to clear up some common misconceptions about UI and UX design. And to put it simply, UI design focuses on the visual elements that you interact with, like the HUD, menus, or buttons, while UX focuses on figuring out how to make these elements easy to navigate, use, and understand. But UX in games is not just UI. It could be sound effects, visual feedback, or animations. It's knowing who your players are or how they behave. Ideally, we want to design the player's entire journey from the moment they launch the game for the first time, all the way to when they complete it. It's also important to know that game UX will overlap with game design. So we need to collaborate together to build a good player experience. So why is it important to design the user experience? Well, if you don't consider it early on, the following outcomes can happen. it can cause player confusion and frustration because players don't know where to go or what to do or how to interact with your game. It can increase dev time work because of usability issues, and you end up redoing more work later. And these frustrated players may leave negative reviews if their experience isn't smooth or intuitive. And eventually, this will lead to drop-off or loss of players. So not prioritizing UX can cost you your players and revenue. So just some examples of games with bad UX. We have Path of Exile, the skill tree. So if you're a new player and you see this screen, you'll get very overwhelmed. You don't know how to even interact with this. And then we have Elden Ring. I haven't played it, but from what I've heard, it has not very clear. When you look at the HUD, you don't know what the elements mean. I know some would say get good, but I would disagree because you're making the game inaccessible. And then we have mobile games with too many ads that interrupts gameplay. Tiny buttons in Balatro, even though it's popular, the mobile version makes it very hard to play. And then
League of Legends, wala.
konti lang examples. There's in Terraria, there's no clear tutorial, and for Animal Crossing, there's too many actions or clicks to complete an action. So although these games are successful, even with UX issues, their overall core gameplay is strong. So, but games with truly bad UX combined with bad game design just won't survive and will get lost in the void, and that's why we never hear about them. So now let's talk about a game with good UX that I really admire, which is Squad Busters from Supercell. It's clear and easy to understand. The buttons and text are readable. The tutorial is intuitive and guides you throughout your first-time user experience, and it feels good to play, especially with all the rewarding sounds and animations. So before we dive into Figma, I just want to share the specializations when designing UI UX for games. So we have user research to understand player behaviors, UI UX design to design the flows and layouts of the screen, UI art to create the assets, technical UI to set up the UI in the game engine, and UI programmer to implement and make it functional. So depending on the company, there might not be a separation for these roles, and it's possible that a person will do multiple things. But if we want efficiency, it's much better to have one person assigned per area and build a UI UX team. In AAA companies, they have a UI UX department that could even be as big as 50 people. So how do we design UI UX for games? So this is my process. It doesn't apply to everyone. Of course, I mainly use Figma to design the flows and mockups, Photoshop and Illustrator to create assets, After Effects for animation, and my go-to game engine is Unity. I always say it's not required for designers to know how to use the game engines, but it helps to know the possibilities and limitations. So what is Figma? I know you already know. But I'm here to share why it's so important, especially in game development, because it's not yet common or like standard tool. And even UI UX roles, if it's in local companies, you don't find them that many. So that's why I'm doing talks to really encourage game developers to be familiarized with these kinds of roles, and yeah. So for those who don't know yet, Figma is a collaborative design tool to create mockups, interactive prototypes, and design systems. But now it can even be used to create slides like this and publish websites. So who should use Figma? It's everybody. So since design is collaborative and constantly evolving, it's important to have stakeholders and other departments align as early as possible. So to support this, teams should have at least a basic understanding of how to use Figma, to make it easier to provide feedback, check progress, and stay in sync. So this includes product, game design, art, devs, QA, even marketing, and your stakeholders. So what can you do with Figma? So you can use Figma or FigJam to create mood boards to align with the direction of your game or plan out features. So this is also helpful for game designers, art directors, or art department. You can design flow maps to plan user journeys, player progression, menu navigation, and more. Then you can create low-fidelity mockups to block out UI elements and test out your game early without getting distracted by colors and thinking about the art style. So here is an example of a match 3 game I created for a demo. Will it play? So at this stage, you're able to see if the flows are easy to navigate, and you can test out the prototype instantly, which can also be shared across your team to get early feedback before you even start polishing the designs. So when everything looks good, we can collaborate with UI artists or the art team to visualize the final look and feel of the game. This is what we call a high-fidelity mockup. We try to make it as close as to what the game should look like, and we can test out different states or interactions before we integrate it in Unity. So here's an example of ranking up your hero. So there is visual feedback of the character leveling up and animation of the currencies you earn to your HUD, animating to your HUD. So devs or QA can use this as reference when they work, and you can export assets and check for alignment and spacing without having the need to open Photoshop. So there are other cool features in Figma. If you didn't know, there is a mirror app on mobile, which allows you to test on your mobile phone the screen you selected on Figma on your desktop device. So this way you can test if your buttons are big enough for your finger or if the text is readable. And then we have components. So components allows you to reuse assets, which you can add states and conditions for you to customize. You only need to edit one object and it applies to all its instances. You can see here, I'm selecting the button, and then I can change the state on the screen on the mockup. So this makes it really fast to create high-fidelity mockups, since I just have to create one and set it up. And then, so what's great about components is you can turn it into a design system or library, which allows you to reuse the same assets in other files, which makes your life so much easier. So if you have to update an icon or a color of a button, you just need to change it from that one file. So Figma is not just for designers, but it's for other roles in game development, and they can benefit from using it too. So Figma makes it easy to collaborate with different teams, quickly test ideas with early prototypes, iterate faster, and use designs as a clear reference during development. So that's the end of my talk. I'm Juelle Quilantang, and I hope you learned something. So feel free to follow or connect with me on LinkedIn.